Okay guys, this is going to be a quick video on the way to disassemble your Ruger Mini-14 or the ranch rifle. This is a ranch model rifle. It's a 223. It's a great gun, and if you just purchased this gun and perhaps you don't have the manual that comes with it, the paperwork, and you might find that there's one or two parts in the disassembly and reassembly that can get a little sticky. So I'm going to do a step-by-step here real quick. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the parts that are just obvious. I'm only going to really do close-ups and a little bit more detailed explanation on the one or two places that I think you might get hung up. Because other than that, it's a pretty simple rifle to disassemble. The first thing you do with any firearm before you disassemble it or do any cleaning or maintenance on it is to make sure that it's unloaded and safe. So I left the magazine in this because, again, if you just purchased this rifle, you might not be familiar with all the things. But I'm just going to go through real quick. Right here is the magazine release latch, which you're going to push in the forward position, and you're going to lift the magazine up and forward away from the rifle. Okay, so we'll set that aside. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the rifle is empty and safe. So you're going to pull the lever back. You're going to press this little button right here, which will hold the action open, and it'll allow you to look inside and make sure that there's no rounds down in there near the barrel, nothing in there, so the magazine is out and the rifle is safe. Now, the first thing that I do is take off the sling. If you have one, the sling will get in the way of disassembly, and I usually just take off the front part of the sling. The back part, which is attached to the stock only, doesn't seem to get in the way. Now, as we get ready to disassemble the gun, you must first cock the action, and the safety, which is here, must be in the on position. This is the on position. Pull back into the trigger guard. The off position is when the safety lever is on the outside, but must be in the on position for disassembly. The next thing we do is we're going to invert the rifle so that it's laying this way on your bench or table. The next step is to remove the trigger housing assembly from the rifle. Now, if you notice right here, I'm going to get a close-up. You notice right here there's a little hole at the rear of the trigger housing assembly. Place a screwdriver in here so that it gets a little bit of leverage on it, and just push it forward so that the thing disengages from the gun, just like this. See how this disengaged? Okay, once you get to that position, the trigger housing assembly lifts straight up out of the rifle, just like this. There's no need to further disassemble this. When cleaning this after shooting, just take a brush with some solvent, get it, make sure it's nice and clean, dry it off, blow it out with some air, make sure there's no sand or grit in there, and that's it. Put that aside. Next, we're going to turn the rifle back up, right side up, and now we're going to remove the barrel receiver assembly. And this is really easy to do. By grasping it back here in this position, you're just going to pick it up a little bit so that it separates from the barrel, as you can see that. Now you just, with your left hand or your other hand, whatever hand you're using, slide the stock to the rear and disengage it from the barrel receiver assembly. Put the stock aside. Invert the assembly on its back again. Now, right here is the recoil rod and spring. This is under pretty extreme tension. There's a little end here that goes into this bushing. There's a bushing in here, a little round bushing. This is solid on the back, but on the front, the rod and the recoil spring seat inside there. You're going to put this on the table, and with a hand, pull toward the front of the rifle and relieve some of this spring tension. Now, very carefully, without letting it go, take it out. You see, it's quite a long spring. This is quite a long spring under a lot of tension. You don't want to just pull that and be careless about it and let it go flying. Now, once you do that, this bushing that I talked about, which is right in here, has a little pin. If you just tilt the rifle one way or another, the pin will come out. just a piece of metal rod, and you can now remove that bushing. Okay? You'll notice that the bushing has a flat part on one side and it's rounded all the way around. That flat part will go down when you reassemble it, and I'll do that, show you that in the next video when we reassemble. The next thing to do is to slide the lever to the rear, and you'll notice that right here there's a little gap in the metal, in the receiver. There's a little gap. Once it gets to a certain point, you can tilt it, turning this little lever in this angle and lift this right up off the gun. Now we're done. Now here comes the tricky part. The next part is to remove the bolt. Now the bolt, as you can see, sits inside here. Okay? It slides in here. Now there's a way to get it out of here. It's not very difficult. It does give people trouble though, but I'm going to show you one trick I learned. The first thing I do that is not required according to the manual is to remove the bolt stop assembly. Now that bolt stop assembly sits behind this door. If you were looking at the gun right side up, there's a little door here, little door that holds this bolt stop assembly inside. It has a little notch on there with like an arrow pointing down. Just take your thumb, push that down. You will now remove the plate, and you will have access to the bolt stop. Now the bolt stop, there's a little pin. This is the thing that you press to hold the action open. If you press this, you're able to easily remove the bolt stop out of the gun. Set that aside. Now be careful of this spring. It's not under a lot of tension, but you don't want it to fly out and take off. Put the spring aside. Now you're left with the bolt. The bolt sits inside there. What you want to do is grab the bolt by this piece right here, pull it forward, and tilt it up so that it's at about a 45-degree angle where it easily will wiggle out of the gun, just like that. And you're done. You have pretty much, well, the other thing you can do is you could remove the gas guard, which is over the top of the barrel. Just put your thumb down here. One thumb down here, hold the barrel, push on it, pops right off. All it does is go on and it's held with this little clip right here onto the barrel. So you can take that off. Now you got the barrel and the receiver. You've got all your parts. You can clean them and put them back together. So I hope you liked that video. The next one, which is the reassembly, is going to show you a trick that I've learned to reassemble the gun easily, especially at the part where you reassemble the bolt, where you reinstall the bolt. Okay? Hope you enjoyed that one.